Hey everyone, and welcome to this video recording. I'm Priya Desai, and I'm the Biomedical Informatics Product Manager for Research IT here at Stanford Healthcare. And I'm one of the instructors for the Tools for Healthcare Data Science series of tutorials that you guys have signed up for. As you all know, we are offering a series of one-day hands-on tutorials of increasing complexity with the goal of familiarizing you, the researcher, with both the Stanford EHR data as well as how to access that data in the context of Stanford's computing environment. So now Stanford's EHR data is available in the OMOP Common Data Model format, and it's available on BigQuery, which is Google's enterprise data warehouse platform. So our goal for the first tutorial is actually to just gently introduce you to the OMOP data model, as well as familiarize you with how you would access and query this OMOP data on BigQuery. Now, ultimately, when you actually access the Stanford EHR data, this data is high risk, and you would need to access it via Stanford's HIPAA compliant big data analytics computing platform, which is also known as Nero. But we want to start out slowly and go through is, basically walk before we run. And so the goal of the first tutorial is really to just get you familiarized with the OMOP data models and accessing and querying this OMOP data from your local machine, so your local laptop. The goal of this particular video is actually to just help you get your local computing environment set up so that you're ready for tutorial 1. Now, let me just say up front that if you do go through this tutorial and you run into issues, you have trouble installing stuff, don't worry. We plan to spend the first 45 minutes of tutorial 1 to make sure that everybody's environment is set up and everybody is good to go. So you will not get left behind. We will not start the tutorial till everybody is set up. But if you can go through this video and try to follow all the installation instructions, and you do have this set up, I think it'll be a great learning experience for you, and it will help us move things along, and keep good time. So we're actually going to do 3 main things in terms of setting up your environment. One is we're going to make sure that you have Python installed and install Jupyter notebooks. Now, Jupyter Notebooks, for those of you who don't know, is actually an open source web application, and it allows you to actually create and share documents that contain live code. So it's almost like a living online notebook where you can weave together computational information, like so you have code, you have data, you have statistics, along with a narrative, and you can have plots and graphs. So it's almost like a multimedia sort of environment. I absolutely love it. It's also the preferred method of analysis on Nero, which, as I mentioned, is the HIPAA compliant computing platform that we have here at Stanford, and which is how you will be actually accessing the Stanford EHR data, the OMOP data on BigQuery. So we will make sure that you have Python and your Jupyter notebooks set up. We'll make sure that you have the Google SDK, the Google Cloud SDK, which stands for Software Development Kit, installed on your local machine. So basically, the Google Cloud SDK it's like a set of tools, and you can sort of use it to manage the applications that you are hosting on the Google Cloud platform. So essentially, you need it to be able to dock to BigQuery. We will also install the BigQuery API, which is how you will actually speak or communicate with BigQuery. So that's how your Python notebook is actually going to talk to BigQuery. Anyway, so let's actually just get started. So the first thing I want you guys to do is, for those of you who don't have Python or Anaconda installed, and this is how you would check. So actually, straight up, let me say I'm walking through these instructions specifically for a MacBook, because that's what I have, but it's actually very similar for a Windows machine, and you can try and find the parallels for a Windows machine. But if you have issues, don't worry. Come for the first, make sure you're on time on tutorial 1. We'll help you get everything installed. So anyway, let's get started. So the way I want you to, the first thing I want you to do is actually just pull up your terminal. So for those of you who don't necessarily have it on your dock, you can just go to your, the spotlight search here and just type in terminal, and it will bring up your terminal. So that's my terminal. And the way to check and see if you actually have Python is to say which Python. So I actually have Anaconda 3 Python, which is fine, but if nothing comes up, it probably means you don't have Python installed. You might also, before you get started, just check and see if you actually have the Google SDK. The way you would do that is just type in which G-Cloud, and well, I have it installed, but for you, it would just come up blank. So let's pretend I don't have anything installed. So the way you would get started is actually just click on this Anaconda distribution link. So, whoops, let's see. And that is the Anaconda website. And I actually want to install the Anaconda. I want to install it for a Mac OS, and I'm actually going to go with Python 3.7, but I'm going to go with the graphical installer. It's just easier. For those of you who feel comfortable, go ahead and you can use the command line. That's fine. So if I click on the graphical installer, you can see that that's downloading down here on the left. For those of you who are on Windows, you should basically do the same thing, but for Windows. And let's just wait a couple. All right, so let's download Anaconda. Let's continue as using this Anaconda package that I had downloaded earlier. So just double click on it. Continue, agree, install. Okay, so I'm gonna have to do this. All right, it's finally installed. Continue, close. You could keep it or move it to the trash. That's either way is fine. The next thing is we want to make sure that we install the BigQuery API. So go ahead and just cut and paste this. Actually, before you do that, let's make sure that Conda did get installed. So remember, I removed my Conda installation, my Conda 3. This is an old Conda installation. What I just did should have reinstalled my Anaconda 3. All right, so the way you actually check whether your Conda has been installed is you would need to exit out of this terminal. because it needs to essentially source the file and open a new terminal and then type in Conda. So Conda here actually gives me Conda 3, which is what I needed. Alright, and now if I say which Python, I actually wanted to point to the Python which is in Anaconda 3. Now next, actually, let's go ahead and install this BigQuery API. So go ahead and wait for a couple of minutes for it to get installed. Alright, let's just make sure our Jupyter notebook works. Alright, so it will actually show up on a local host, typically on the 888 port. So here it is, and then I can just go ahead, click new, and if I want a new Python 3 notebook, it's going to bring up a new Python 3 notebook. I can go ahead and call it whatever I want, rename it. We're actually going to spend most of the afternoon of tutorial 1 just playing with Jupyter notebooks, so we'll get into this in a lot of detail. So I just want to make sure that this is up and running. Alright, cancel. I want to get out of here, so Control X C. Okay, and close. Alright, next was to actually see if we could install Jupyter notebooks, the Google SDK. So quickly, we did Anaconda distribution, we installed the BigQuery API, we made sure our Jupyter notebook is installed. We sort of also made sure that it was the Python we have is Python 3. Alright, the next part is actually to install the Google SDK. So once again, click on this link. It actually takes you to the page where you have the Google SDK installers. And for this one, I'm actually not going to use the graphical installer. I'm actually going to do this on the command line. So just assuming that you are using a Mac, just follow the instructions here. Windows, go ahead and follow the instructions under the Windows installer. So let's go ahead and do this. Okay, and it'll just go ahead, download the package, and you would need to follow the rest of the instructions on this page. So click yes, remove it before installing yes. So it's installing whatever the old installation was and reinstalling Google SDK. Sure, why not? So you can see it's actually installing all the command line tools. You'll now be able to actually run, you can even query BigQuery directly from the command line. Okay, do you want to modify your bash profile? Absolutely, yes, because this way it will be, yes. All right, excellent. So now if I go to which G-Cloud, you should actually see this Google Cloud in your path. Now the next thing is actually to make sure that you initialize and initialize your G-Cloud settings. So to do that, let's go back to this page and just now run G-Cloud init, which is basically G-Cloud initialize. And it's going to ask you a bunch of questions. Well, I was already here, so it's asking me if I want to reinitialize this configuration, but I'm going to say no, I want to create a new configuration. Enter the configuration name. So the configuration name that you're going to put in is the name of this Google project. And this is a Google project that all of you have been added to. So for the duration of these tutorials, all of you have been given access to this Google Cloud project, and this is what we want you to use when you ultimately will be accessing the actual Stanford EHR data. Basically all of the data you will be creating, you will be doing that through your own Google Cloud project, and we'll walk you through all of the steps there. But essentially, in order to interact with any of the Google services or any of so basically BigQuery is one of Google's services, and in order to interact with any service, you actually need to, the only way to do that is through a project. And the project that you're going to go do it through for the duration of this tutorial is the SOM RIT Start Training project. So go ahead and just enter this as the configuration name. Which account do you want to log in from? So here you actually want to make sure that you're logging in from your Stanford account. My project ID also, actually I want to call it, this is actually going to be the same. Enter project ID, sorry. That's my project name is my GCP, my project ID is my GCP project name. Do you want to configure a default compute region and zone? Answer is yes, and this is the region and zone you want to pick. Yes. Oh, sorry, my bad. Okay. And so essentially I want US West 1A, and US West 1A is 13. So it wants me to give it a numeric choice, so I'll give it 13. Okay, so now I'm all set. The way I would check is go do G-Cloud config list, so basically list my configuration. And so this is actually telling me that my region and my zone are US 1 and US 1A respectively. The account that I'm accessing it through is the PRD at Stanford. And then my project name is SOM RIT Start Training. So this basically means that you're all set as far as your Google SDK is concerned. The third thing I want you to do is actually click on, go to on this link. Go.stanford.edu. NeuroStar notebooks. So many of you may not actually see this. You may not be logged in. So for example, if I were to sign out and I were to say go to go to this link, it's going to use the do authentication to log me in. Okay, it logs me in by default, but if you are not logged in, you can actually sign in using your Stanford do authentication and log in. It may take you to this FAQ page, but never mind. You could actually just go to code.stanford.edu and type in STAR here to search for the STAR project, and it should be the Nero STAR notebooks. You should be able to access this page. I have given all of you access to this page. So this actually brings us to the end of our setup video, and I hope all of you are successful, at least in part, if not completely. And if not, we're there. We'll help you out. So don't worry. And I look forward to seeing you all on the day of tutorial 1. Thank you.